The last time I did a State of the Union address for postpartum was about 4 months postpartum. And I thought, I'm 10 months out now. Let's do another one. Hey, lady. Welcome to the Postpartum on Purpose podcast. If we haven't met, my name is Anne-Marie. I'm wife to James and mom to 5 beautiful kids, ages 9 and under, with 1 miscarried baby. Here we see postpartum, all the way from birth to the first year of life, as a time of grit, growth, and grace. This is episode 89. Hi, lady. Let's get right into it today. If you've been around a minute, you know that free things is mental shorthand for a gentle reminder to myself and to you that a beautiful, rich, meaningful life is available to all of us, no matter the size of our budget or our family, and also that we always have something to be grateful for. This week's free thing is a little eclectic. It's very fun. And it is, or was, actually not for me. It was given to me, but did not stay with me. A friend from my Bible study gave me a package that she had received, and I don't know how exactly she got this, but they were Rinse Aid tablets for a dishwasher. And we have a dishwasher. It just doesn't work. And it hasn't worked for quite a while. And my husband and I have not fixed it intentionally because we just thought it's good for our kids to learn how to wash dishes. It's good for them to have that skill, and we will fix it at some point, but the need to do that is not urgent. Therefore, when this friend gave me these dishwasher Rinse Aid tablets, I was like, thank you so much. I will be sure to pass those along to the food pantry, which is exactly what happened. And yeah, that's good. Something else that I wanted to share, with you. I don't know if you know this story because I can't remember if I've shared it here before or not, but the ho-ho story will lead into what I'm going to tell you next. And that story is this. You know how I feel about free things because I've been talking about it for forever. But once upon a time, this is several years back, I was walking along the frontage road behind our house, and there was a box of ho-hos in the ditch. And I thought, yes, the box was open, but the ho-hos inside were wrapped. They were still individually wrapped. And I went home and I told my husband, I want to try one of those. And he was like, are you crazy? You can't do that. You found them on the side of the road. They could have been injected with something. Long story short, I never did. I never did get to try those ho-hos. But to tease him still, he'll tease me still about that. But then to tease him still, sometimes I'll make little jabs at him about like things I wouldn't do, but just to kind of get his goat a little bit. And the other day I was walking and I found something else on the road. And here's what I texted the girls from my Bible study afterwards. Also, I would like us all to be proud of me for walking right by an already cooked hot dog on the side of the road a few days back. And then I said this next. I told James to be proud of me, and he said he was not proud because I even brought it up. So there's a free thing that wasn't. All right. We can all just be grateful for that. There's a free thing that I did not take. Moving on to one small change. Actually, really this State of the Union address that I'm going to do today on being 10 months postpartum is talking about all of the one small changes. But just as a refresher, if you are new-ish here, one small change directly addresses every week this idea, this tendency that we can have or temptation in postpartum to think that whatever is hard, challenging, or seemingly impossible today is going to feel hard, challenging, or impossible forever. And one small change is just looking at things in my life as a mom or my baby's life, or maybe even my family more broadly, more contextually, and just saying, oh, there's always something that's changing. There is always something that is changing, whether it's going away, getting better, something that I don't even notice anymore because I've just figured out how to handle it now. Even things like, I would say nothing is too small, but even things like when you have your very first baby and you are starting to figure out how to undo their car seat and how to buckle them into it. Things like that at first it's like, man, I have all thumbs. I can't figure this out. But then eventually you do. And then at some point you just don't even notice it anymore. It's not hard. You're not even paying attention to it. It's not happening voluntarily or consciously. It's voluntary, but not consciously. But State of the Union address. I did one a while ago. I'll have to pull it up in the show notes, but I did one right about 4 months. And I was thinking, it might be nice to just have maybe a realistic, from my perspective, of course, I'm not going to be representative of everyone's experience, but I thought it might be nice to have a realistic review of what 10 months, 10 and a half actually, postpartum might look like. And the overall sense that I would love for you to have is that some things are improved or resolving, other things are still in process, being difficult, or just haven't figured out exactly what's going on in certain areas. And my hope is not that you would in any way compare yourself to me, but simply that you would have encouragement for the road, encouragement for the journey, that every month that goes by, there's more, just there are more things that are changing, but then yes, it's also not a perfect linear progression where everything now that was difficult at 2 months is no longer, or what have you. But in no particular order, some things, let's start with the baby first. Let's start with her. She took her very first steps yesterday. She's been thinking about it for close to a month now. And we joked that when my mother-in-law came, which she came 2 weeks ago now, that she was waiting to make her walking debut at that time. And she got really close. She was cruising. She was walking with holding onto somebody's hand, just one hand. But yesterday was the first time we were at the library with one of our Grandma Tribe members. And she took 2 little steps and then paused and then took 2 more little steps to walk to her. And of course, the Grandma Tribe member was just thrilled. I mean, gosh, I thought she was going to cry all over the carpet. It was great. That was really cool. But so that's one thing. Another thing is that she has a mouthful of teeth, it seems like. And she's got 5 or 6 that are popped through, 3 or 4 on top and then 2 on bottom. But it seems like all of the slots are in place, if that makes any sense at all to you. It seems like all the slots are in place for, I don't know, half a dozen more. She has been cranky out the wazoo lately. And I don't know if it's the teeth, probably, and or a developmental leap. I don't know if that's a thing anymore, but they used to talk about wonder weeks and that kids, before they had a big developmental milestone or achievement, would get potentially more cranky and have trouble sleeping. I don't know if that is or isn't in vogue anymore, but I have heard of that in the past and noticed some correlation with my kids. Not all the time, but sometimes. And yeah, she's a peach. Though, yes, the last week has been just difficult. She's a light sleeper compared to my other kids, which is a bit challenging when she's in the room with 2 older brothers, a 2-year-old and a 4-year-old, because as soon as they wake up, as soon as either of them wakes up, even wakes up and loudly walks to the bathroom, because all of my children walk like they have bricks in their feet and are elephants, that's enough for her to start waking up and crying. And we had puke again, or maybe just stomach bug again over the weekend. Oof, Jiminy Christmas lady, that was a to-do. That was really a to-do. But I counted 16 times that I woke up between 9:30 on Saturday night and 5:30 or 5:45 on Sunday morning, because I had 2 sons that were alternating back and forth between puking, and then homegirl, who really, thank you breast milk, thank you immunological properties of breast milk, she just had some loose stools, but not even a lot of them. Like, it was just that her daily stool for those 3 or 4 days was loose, and that was it. But she would wake up. So it was like 40 minutes, one boy would wake up. 30 minutes later, another boy would wake up. And then 30 minutes after that, she woke up, just because we put her in the pack and play in the living room so that she was not waking up every single time her brothers in their room were waking up. And I'm cleaning up their puke. That was, no thanks. 0 out of 5, do not recommend. Do not recommend. But that's been just something about her that I've noticed. And that's not specific to recently. It's not even specific to teething, I don't think. Just pretty much from the beginning. She's been a lighter sleeper compared to the other kids. And that's just something I guess we deal with. But her walking is great. Her teeth are good. Her sleeping situation is, she sleeps more lightly. And she also doesn't seem to sleep as much as the older kids did, certainly from what I remember, because she'll go to bed with the little boys around by 8 or just before, and then they're up at 6:30, and she takes maybe a half an hour morning nap. I think my older kids took 1.5 or 2-hour morning naps for a long time, but she's down to half an hour, a very brief half an hour while we're homeschooling. And in the afternoons, it kind of depends. 1.5 hours, maybe 2 hours, and that's it. Though today was a sad day. I don't even know if it was a full hour. Hopefully that's going to get better. But her personality is peachy. She will wave now. She won't blow kisses, but we're trying to teach her. And she has the cutest little smile, the cutest, and a great laugh. And she's a little flirtatious, which is wild because how can you be that when you're 10 and a half years old? But yeah, everybody is in love with her. Every single member of the family just, oh, Miss Celia, just worships the ground that she walks on. Though the 2-year-old, we have to be very careful because he likes to hug her around the neck. Fortunately, she is loud enough in her cries now that if they're in their room together, like the door will be open, but if they're in their room together and he gets hold of her to give her a very vigorous hug, she'll just squawk at him. And it's like, okay, Tui, leave her alone. Tui, don't touch her. And you go in there and pry him off of her. But that is the situation with her. She's doing great. She's really flourishing in a lot of ways, and she's her own little person. And then from my perspective, I think I'd mentioned last episode that I had noticed as part of my one small change. I had noticed it's been a very long time since I experienced any type of tenderness related to the vulvar varicosities or really any type of tenderness after sex, and that was great. And I would say physically, I feel completely healed, which is good. And also not just like that I'm healed, but I would even say getting stronger. I would even say getting stronger than I was previous to getting pregnant, which is really a cool thing to say. I'm 36 years old now. I've had 5 children. It's a really cool thing to be able to say, yeah, I'm actually stronger than I was once upon a time. Because, I've mentioned this several times in the last probably 2 months worth of episodes, but I'm running now 3 times a week. I've never done that in my life. I've never done that in my life. I've only ever run as part of a sport and or an intramural activity, some type of group activity. I would run during an ultimate frisbee game, or I would run as part of intramural basketball, or I would run for softball, but not just go out and run. And that was because my knee hurt. I did it to myself. But I wore high-heeled shoes and boots for 14 hours a day when I would be on campus for college. And I just hurt my knee really badly through that over time repetitively. And I am not exactly sure, to just be truthful, I'm not exactly sure what healed it in these last 10 months. I don't know if it's these hinge health exercises that I've been doing for 6 months. It's fully been 6 months now. They have been for my upper back and for my shoulder. And I was having referred pain to my elbow from the shoulder, specifically the rotator cuff being weak. I think I'm saying that right. Rotator cuff being weak. But weakness leading to referred pain in my elbow and then all the way down rating it into my hand. But the exercises that they've been having me do require you to tighten your core. They require you to have really good posture. And then I also did pelvic floor physical therapy for a long time, but I was working much more on not Kegels and not even strengthening specifically like tightening and releasing the pelvic floor, but my hip. I was having a ton of hip pain, lower back, and then it was going into my knee. And slowly that resolved. But then now it seems like I'm stronger actually than I was beforehand, which is leading to the ability to run. And I just love that. So activity for me right now, I'm shooting for over 150 minutes because that's supposed to be the expectation for Americans in general. I think, though I was also a little less impressed as myself when I read recently, I'm pretty sure this is correct, that they also want you to be doing several strength training sessions a week. And I just thought it was 150 minutes of moderate to vigorous exercise period. So I was patting myself on the back majorly, like, I am crushing the basic goals for American activity for adults. Now I am meeting those because I'm starting to do strength training several times a week as well. But it's just funny when you're being proud of yourself and then, I don't know, the balloon gets popped a little bit. There's a little poke in your ego. But when possible, I'm trying to do a couple hours of line dancing a week, and that ends up being maybe twice a month that happens. And then these runs are happening and doing some YouTube workouts, just trying to move more. And I honestly link that back to starting to take the poopy diapers out to the trash can rather than putting like outside of our house, instead of putting them into garbage bags in our trash can inside the house. And that might sound like the stupidest thing you've ever heard, but I think movement begets movement. What do they say? An object in motion tends to stay in motion, whereas an object at rest tends to stay at rest. And I just think this idea that started with the kernel of I'm going to walk the poopy diaper outside became, I'm going to try to move as much as possible over the course of my day. And different little things have clicked into place for that to happen. I did have chiropractic adjustments for a time. I stopped that about a month and a half ago because my chiropractor actually had her second baby, which is terrific. But I haven't been going to the chiropractor anymore. I haven't been to pelvic floor therapy since 6 months. But yes, 6 months, for 6 months now, I've been doing the Hinge Health app. That's about 5 sessions a week, around 10 minutes per time. And then this running and then strength training. So that's what exercise and activity and movement is looking like for me at present from a weight gain perspective and weight loss. And I'm not saying this to be prickly towards anybody in one direction or another, as in I've lost more weight than you, or a comparison. I've lost less weight than you, but I have lost about 24 pounds of a 34-pound weight gain. And a couple of those pounds, honestly, have come just in the last month. And I'm not sure if that is in relation to the fact that I'm weaning now. I start weaning at 6 months when I introduce table foods. I pull out 1 feeding a month. So at almost 11 months, I'm down to two feeds per day. I feed her first thing in the morning and then feed her right before bedtime. And then everything else in between is table food. Like this evening, just as an example, this evening she had a little bit of burger. She had some fries. She had a cheese slice and what else? Strawberries. Seems like there was something else. But just, we don't do baby food anymore. I did a whole episode on the unschooling approach, like calling it to introducing solids, just because from a simplicity perspective and trying to make food that everybody can eat. I just break up things as small as possible for her, try to give her little soft, mushy things. And now that she's getting some teeth, of course, these are the ones in the front. It's not like she's going to chew very much with those other than just to bite into something. But over time, she's getting better at gumming things, and that's working out just fine. But all of that simply to say, as I'm weaning, I don't know if that's why also I'm a little bit more successful in losing weight. It may also just be that I have more energy to exercise, which is kind of I don't know. I want to be careful about how I phrase that because I'm still tired. I'm still more tired than I want to be. And I don't know if that is a thing that needs to be investigated at some point, in quotation marks, or if that is I had 3 kids in 4 years and it's going to take some time for my body to just readjust, even though, yes, I'm taking high quality prenatals. I'm not really sure. I'm more tired than I expected to be. I'm more tired than I would like to be in general. And by that, I just mean most days I would like to take a nap, or I don't wake up in the morning with a lot of energy. Now, I've never drunk coffee in my life. I've never been a coffee drinker except briefly when I was working night shift in the hospital. I would drink it during my shift in order to stay awake from particularly 2 to 3 a.m. But in general, I've never been somebody who's needed coffee to get out of bed. And I've generally speaking, and I guess this is the grace of God, I didn't even quite realize it, but just been somebody who I woke up and it was like, okay, I'm ready to go. Let's tackle the day. That's not happening anymore. And I would rather not just assume that, well, now that I'm the ripe old age of 36, this is just how life is. But I am being patient right now and trusting the process and thinking, okay, if this continues for another, I'd say by the time Cecilia is a year, if I'm still feeling like most days I would like to take a nap and like when I wake up in the morning, I just don't have a ton of energy, then I'll probably go to my primary care doctor who is NAPRO trained and just say, hey, what suggestions do you have? I had thyroid studies done when I was 6 months postpartum and those looked totally fine. You probably already know, but if you're going to get labs drawn for thyroid, don't just have the TSH. You want to have the full panel, which also does T3 and then T4 and maybe one other thing. But those things all looked fine at that time. So I don't suspect it's thyroid, but we'll see. And that's just something that I'm also, I want to lay everything out on the table for you to say, I'm not coming to you at 10 and a half months postpartum and saying everything is figured out and it's just all lovely. No, that's just not true. But I hope that you can have some sense of, there are still some things that need to be worked out. And then there are other things that have resolved or are doing a lot better, for which I am grateful. Let's do a quick cycle check update as well. I did a whole episode on the mirror monitor. I would still very much say the jury is out for me with its actual practicality. It definitely does not do a good job of identifying the opening of my fertile window. I have been very confident in it successfully closing the fertile window, but not in the opening, which is why the Marquette method that is developing these experimental protocols, because they're still experimental, That's why they have an algorithm to say start abstaining on this day of the cycle while you're breastfeeding, in the first 6 cycles while breastfeeding, rather than just wait until you start to see an estrogen rise on the monitor, because it can be too late at that point if you are seeking to avoid pregnancy for the time being. That is a situation as far as that goes. And my estrogen levels are just looking really low. Even honestly, if I were using the wand that typically has read higher than the plus wand, so the max wand, even those aren't really that high compared to what I think they would expect, like looking at the graphs they have of estimated, just like a wide range of what other people's levels are. They're still reading really low. I don't know if that's because I'm breastfeeding, if that's still being suppressed to some extent. Yeah, I'm not really sure what to make of that exactly. And my cycles themselves look really healthy. I'm not having any brown bleeding before or after. It's a 7-day cycle. My luteal phase, because what you look for, I've talked about this in previous episodes as well, but what you look for is a luteal phase that is lengthening to an appropriate range. So somewhere between 10 and 14 days. I think really healthy would be considered about 12 to 14. And then once you sort of dial into whatever your personal luteal phase length is, you should expect it. I think you would say by about 6 months about 6 cycles in, not 6 months postpartum, by about 6 cycles in, about your 6th cycle after return of fertility postpartum, that by then, whatever your luteal phase length is, let's say it's 12 days, it should be 12 days pretty much every single time. But slowly, you would expect that to happen in the first couple of cycles. And I am in the middle of, or just about to have ovulation for my 3rd cycle since return of fertility. And last cycle already, I had a 12-day luteal phase, which is just a strong showing. I'm feeling very proud of my ovaries. And brain, I guess, right? Because the pituitary is stimulating the hormone release that leads to those things. But that part is cool. And I'm just not really sure exactly what to make of the levels. And like right now, my LH seemed like it was starting to rise a couple of days ago. And I am having peak type mucus right now. So that, like, those things seem to match, seem to correlate. But then it seemed like today was lower as well. And I don't know if somehow just the testing is not... for some reason, it's just not picking up the levels in my urine samples, or if my body really is doing wonky things right now. I don't really know. To be determined. Stay tuned on that one. Maybe at the 1-year mark, I can tell you a little bit more clearly. Here's what seems to be going on, or what was going on 2 months ago. The other thing I wanted to bring up was mood. I know for a lot of women, postpartum can be a time of a lot of changing hormones, of course, but then also just things that can impact your mood as well, not just hormones. And you might say, well, hormones affect everything. Well, sure, yes. But there are other factors that affect our mood as well. And I still have never done a specifically postpartum OCD episode. And it's because I really want to do it well. And I have not put in the time to make sure that I'm including all of the information that I want to say, but also not... just saying the things that I want to say and staying on track, essentially, with that. But I will just simply say that as somebody who experiences OCD in general, like I learned during postpartum, you have postpartum OCD with my now 2.5-year-old. But it really, to me, is probably more like, this is just when you learned that this is the name or the label for a series of struggles or tendencies that you've had for a very long time, for a very, very long time. And I will say that in the last couple of months since my cycle has returned, it's a little tricky to figure out. And I don't know if it's related to the shifting hormones, because again, like I said, they're actually not that high right now. And when I was testing my levels before my fertility returned, it's not like they're a ton higher than they were then either. So yeah, I don't want to say, this is definitely related to my hormones. I almost wonder if it's kind of like, now that my body is devoting energy every month to ovulation and menstruation. Yeah, I'm not sure. I'm not sure if it's the fact that I'm doing things more now, but I will just say, in some things, I think my ability to handle stress and the day-to-day grind is too strong a word, but you know what I'm saying? Like the day-to-day routine is better. And there's a phrase that I read in the Hinge Health app this morning. They do these little articles. So you do your 8-minute or 10-minute workout, and they give you a little motivational article afterwards. And not just motivational, but also educational or informational. But the article said this morning, you'll often see an improvement in function before an improvement in pain. And they were referring mostly, specifically in the article, they're referring to shoulder pain. You'll often see an improvement in your function before an improvement in your pain. And I would just simply say that I think that sums up really well what I've experienced or am experiencing, which is there are improvements that I'm seeing in my ability to function, my ability to be present to my kids, to recognize, oh, I am really wanting to pick up my phone right now. I wonder what it is I'm trying to distract myself from. What uncomfortable emotion am I trying to avoid at this time? So that's great, having that awareness. But yeah, I would say the intrusive thoughts, I think to some extent have increased in the last couple of months. Like I said, I'm not really sure exactly why that is. And because OCD wants at all times 100% comfort, 100% certainty, and 100% control, it's actually part of my exposure and response prevention therapy or treatment to accept that I don't know. I don't exactly know what's leading to this. I don't exactly know why this is happening. And I'm just going to roll with it for now because I am seeing improvements in my ability to let things go, in my ability to move through the day and to handle things with my kids. So yeah, mixed bag, maybe is how I would describe that. I think in some sense right now, the intrusive thoughts are stronger than they were a couple of months ago. But I would also say that I'm willing to just roll with that right now because I'm seeing that improvement in function, even though I am not yet seeing necessarily an improvement in, I'm putting pain in quotation marks, but you know what I mean? Like intrusive thoughts. Yeah. Okay. So I've covered exercise. I've covered activity, like exercise, activity, movement, weight loss, talked a little bit about cycles, talked a little bit about mood. Oh, work, I think was just the last thing. And of course, this is going to be so specific to the individual person, so personalized. But I was working about 12 hours a week, freelance writing and editing before Cecilia was born. And since I returned to that work, I don't remember if she was 8 weeks old, maybe. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know exactly. But I now work on average about 5 hours a week. And that is plenty in terms of what I'm able to do without feeling like a crazy person or feeling like it's making me more anxious to do that. It's very important to me to continue to contribute to the extent that I can, and especially to women's health, all kinds of women's health topics. And there's an editing project that I'm just about to embark on now. But again, a project that will be done at a pace that is sustainable for my family. And we'll work that out. And I look forward to being able to do that and having the freedom to do that. That's a gift. It's a blessing to be able to say, here's what I've got to offer and to have that be respected. But also, it's not just simply the case that now that I have another child, I'm working half of what I was working before, or even less than half. But my kids who are homeschooling, I have the 3rd and the 4th grader who I'm homeschooling right now, they just are taking a lot more time this year to get their homeschooling done. Like just, like they're getting older. So things are getting harder and they're doing more. But that's taking about 16 hours a week homeschooling the two of them, which happens between Monday and Thursday. We do very little work on Fridays. That's a day for field trips, for different activities, for play dates. And then my son who's in 4th grade has to do a little bit of work on Fridays consistently just to stay on track with what he needs for his subjects because most of them are scheduled for a 5-day week. But between the 5 or sometimes 6 hours of work and the 16 hours of homeschooling, that's the sweet spot that we have. I don't have any plans to work more than that for the time, like for the foreseeable future. There's no plan that I have to scale that up anytime soon. Those are all the things that I thought might just be helpful to kind of run through for you, lady, so that you could even just reflect on where you are, however far you are postpartum right now, and maybe in a non-judgmental or non-critical way, just to evaluate like, are there any things that I would like to address? Is there something I'd like to address with my exercise or with my physical healing from recovery or with my emotional state or my weight loss goals or what have you? Just, I hope this has been sort of a gentle review so that you can put some thought into what that looks like for you. I'll talk to you next time.